Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين Okay, so let me just do a quick check-in. How many of you are relatively new, meaning like maybe the last 6 months that you've been involved, or how many of this is your first time here, period? Let's see if there's anybody who's this weekend's your first time. Okay, welcome to all of you, welcome. How many people have been around for like 6 months to a year, more or less? Okay, and how many of you how many are the old timers? You've been around here forever. All right, good, welcome to all of you. Okay, this lecture is a little bit more for the old timers than the new people. So the new people, I'm trying to kind of get you on the same page, but it's actually more of an advanced lecture. Okay, so one thing about advanced lectures is for the new people is they tend to be very triggering. So I just want to warn you ahead of time that you may get riled up. What? You're not supposed to, though. If you know what to do with it, it's fine. But if you don't know what to do with it, it's difficult. Because what's happening is that the lights from these lectures actually go in very deep and kind of wake up places that have been sleeping. And those places which have been hidden, all of a sudden aren't hidden anymore. They start to get difficult. So it can be triggering in that way. Okay, now, what I'll try to do as I lecture is I'll try to also purify your reactions. So I'll be working with you, even though I'm just lecturing up here, I'm actually also working with trying to bring things in the way that Allah would like them to be, inshallah. But in any case, I just want to give you a heads up that you may get triggered. Okay, so with that, we're going to be talking about veils of light this morning. Okay, veils of light. Now, for the new people, I'm going to give you just a brief overview to get you onto the sort of the same page of where we're going. Okay, so this is Sufi teachings. Right? And Sufi teachings mean purification. So Sufi purifies. But what does a Sufi purify? A Sufi purifies what we call turbidities. Turbidity means cloudiness. So what's a cloud? A cloud is anything that makes your inner being cloudy. Okay, what might make your inner being cloudy? Anger, hatred, anything like this, these are things that make our inner being cloudy. So when these things are operating inside of us, we're not a pure mirror of God. Okay, in other words, what we want to do is we want to reflect God's light in our heart. So God is truth, we want to be truthful. God is compassionate, we want to be compassionate. God is loving, we want to be loving. We want to be mirrors of God's light. Okay, so in Sufism, the concept is God is one. We say God is ahad. Okay, so God is ahad. Ahad means one. Okay, so in Sufism, the concept. Oh, thank you. Let me put that over there. It's just kind of like okay. So the concept.
I was warning you. Yeah, I'm sorry. There goes.
Yeah, that's it. It might be the battery.
No, it's not the battery.
Change it. Okay. So the concept is Allah is ahad. Allah is one. So as Sufis, we recognize that God is one. Okay. Now, what does it mean God is one? It means, first of all, that there's only one God. So there's not multiple gods. So in Sufism, there's monotheism and there's polytheism. Monotheism means there's one God and there's one essential reality that runs the universe. There's not multiple gods. There's not multiple realities. So should I use this or should I just
it's going to go in and out. I'm sorry, I'm having a problem with my amp.
But I don't need it, but if you...
Some people might need it, so...
Okay.
But I hear a headache if you go.
So, okay, seems to be...
It's going to be in and out.
It's temperamental.
It's temperamental. Sorry.
Okay.
It's triggered, yeah.
You got triggered, exactly. Got naps. All right, so God is one, and in Sufism, we're understanding, first of all, that there's nothing but the one God. Okay, so there's not polytheism, so you don't have multiple gods, you don't have multiple divisions of God. If God was three, then you divided God into three. If God was 100, you divided God into 100. If God was, 1,000, you divided God into 1,000. So the primary concept is monotheistic. There's one God, which is the basic force that controls, supports, and creates existence. So that's the ahad. Okay. Now, in Sufi's teachings and in traditional Sufism, God was only God, and then God created a wall. This wall is called a barzakh. And then out of this barzakh, God took light and God created all of creation. So all of creation is here. And there's this barzakh, which is the wall between creation and God, and there's God. Okay? And essentially, God rules creation from behind the barzakh. Okay. However, in spirituality, what we're really trying to do is we're trying to bring our heart's consciousness in Sufism. We're trying to bring the consciousness of our heart back into the presence of oneness. So we're basically trying to take this heart and put it up here. Okay, so where is the heart now? The heart's not up there. The heart is actually busy with creation. Okay, so what does it mean busy with creation? It means it's busy with desire. What do you want? It's busy with the world, or we could say the images of the world. It's busy with our relationships. It's busy with survival. It's busy with money. It's busy with success, fame, attainment, etc. This is what the heart wants, and all of us are subjected to this in different forms. In other words, we all want those things, right? But the problem is that from a Sufi perspective, all those things are distractions. You know, they're all distracting us from the one. And as many of you know, when you die, how many of you have been around, how many of you have been with somebody who has died, where you've been at their bedside or close to them when they've died? Okay, were they very much busy with the world at that point?
No.
No, they were busy with leaving the world, right? They were letting it all go, it was all falling away. So anybody who's been around people who died, know that at the time of death, the last thing you care about is this stuff. You're basically looking at what's going to happen to me. You know, so your whole attention turns up here. And in turning up here, you then say, what is this reality? Because actually this reality is opening for you. And people will say as they're dying, they're starting to see light, they're starting to see angels. This inner world is opening at your point of death. And in that opening, you know you're leaving behind this outer world. You're coming to something else. And as you get older, even, you know, as you start to reach the midpoint of your life, whatever age that will be, you start to make that shift. So let's say that you're going to live to be 100 years old. By the time you hit 50, the other world is starting to show up. You know, before that, it doesn't show up so much. But when you hit the midpoint, which is sort of the midhaven of your life, like the noon point of your life, when you cross over that midhaven, Allah's other reality, meaning that what happens after death, starts to appear. So you're saying, wow, my life is like starting to be over. Something's happening inside of me. I'm coming into something new. How do you know that? Because deep in your subconscious, you're aware of that descending new light, which is what's going to happen after you die. It starts to appear on the horizon for you. It's like the first light of day, but really, what is it? The first light of your afterlife. It starts to show up and you see it. And you're like, wow, what is that? Why am I thinking about death? Why am I thinking about what's going to happen to me after? Why am I concerned about things? The reason you're concerned is because you're aware of it. Before you weren't. You were busy, you know, trying to get your PhD and your master's degree and make a lot of money and have children and have a family. But now you're starting to go past it. And if you're only meant to live 60 years, that'll happen when you're 30. If you're meant to live 40 years, it'll happen when you're 20. You see? So sometimes people, even at 20 years old, start to have awareness of these other realities and they don't know why. But the light starts to come in. Because Allah knows when you're going to die. So He begins to send that light. So we don't really know. Even people who are like warriors, like people who are in the army, they know, let's say they're going to die at 23. You know, at the age of maybe even 13 or 12, they're starting to become aware of this light. It's amazing. It's really an interesting phenomenon. But it's what actually happens. So in Sufism, what we're interested in is, we say we want you to die before you die, which means what we want you to do is we want you to reach this state not after you die, but before you die. Okay, you want to reach that before you die, because if you do that, then you've completed your reality and you've done something valuable with your life. But if you don't do this before you die, you've actually at some level missed your chance. Some level you've missed your chance. You've used your life in a certain way, but at one level you've wasted your life. Okay? So in Sufism, we don't want you to waste your life. What we want you to do is we want you to complete your life while you're alive. Okay? And that means basically you have to bring your heart into the presence of the oneness. And you have to cross the barzakh to do that. You have to cross the barzakh. Now, what is the barzakh? The barzakh is the Jabarut. The barzakh, for those of you who know the Sufi terms, we call this Jabarut. The Jabarut is the world of the soul. Okay? So if you're going to complete yourself, you've got to cross the barzakh of the soul and enter into the reality and the presence of the ahad, which we say is the secret. Okay? So you have to cross that reality. Now, how do you cross that reality? And this is what the whole lecture is about today. That's why I say it's an advanced lecture. It's not starting on the path, it's not about the walking of the Sharia and the divine law, it's not about the walking of the heart and the emotions and the inner states of consciousness of the heart and the purification of love. It's about crossing the barzakh. That's what the lecture is about today, is how do we cross the barzakh. So I'm going to give it to you very, very briefly. We'll give you an overview, and then we're going to go back and figure out how you do it. Okay? All right, so the way you cross the barzakh is you have to be aware of it. You have to be conscious of it. Okay, if you're not conscious of the barzakh, you can't cross it. Which makes sense, right? So how could you go someplace if you don't know where you're going? You have to be aware of the barzakh. You have to know what it is. What is the barzakh? It is the light of the divine names. Okay, so you've all heard of the beautiful names of God, right? Have you heard of this?
Yes.
Okay, so people talk about the beautiful names of God. Traditionally, the way people look at the beautiful names of God is they say, okay, well, I don't have enough money, I'm going to recite Ya Allah, Ya Razak, and Allah will give me money. So people walking around, Ya Allah, Ya Razak, Ya Allah, maybe God will give me some money. Or I don't have a relationship, so I'm going to recite Ya Allah, Ya Wadud, Ya Allah, Ya Wadud, Allah will send me the love and a relationship will show up. So the names are basically used as sort of medicines to get what you want. That's mostly how it's used. Okay. However, that has nothing to do with crossing barzakh. Okay, let me explain the difference. Inside of you as a human being, here's your body. And you're pretty square. Right? And inside of this body, you have a heart. Okay? Which, by the way, most people are not that aware of. Right? Now, you as people here, you're probably much more aware than most because you're here. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. But if I walk down the street of Chicago, maybe people are not that aware of their heart. They're maybe more aware of whatever people do in Chicago. Okay, or if I walk down the streets of Frankfurt, Germany, they may not be so aware of their heart. People in Germany are more aware of other things. They have other things. They're not caring so much about the heart. They might want to know more about other things that is specific to their culture. So to have a heart is something very special. But behind the world of the heart is the world of the soul. Okay, so here's your heart, and behind this, or really, that's really not a right word. It's not really behind it because it actually interpenetrates it. The heart, the soul world is like a massive bubble. And inside of this bubble lives you and your heart. That's really what it looks like. Okay? Now, in that bubble, what does that bubble consist of? It consists of molecules. It has molecules as well. But the molecules of the soul bubble are not like physical atoms. It's composed of light. It's molecules of light. Okay, so in the soul world, it's not about physical reality. This world is composed of literally molecular substance, but it's the molecular substance of light. Or something like that. All of you have a soul, and all of you have light in your soul. And in that soul are these molecules of that light, and those molecules are of different types, just like you have gold and silver and platinum and carbon and all those type of things. The soul has molecules like that too. those molecules are actually called the divine names. Okay, so inside of the soul are all those divine names, and some of you have more of one name than another. So some of you are loaded with platinum, but you didn't get a lot of silver. And some of you are loaded with gold, but you didn't get a lot of carbon. So, you have your specific nature, which is based on your molecules, which is different than somebody else's. So somebody who has a lot of, let's say, diamond would be very hard and strong. Well, the correspondence of hard and strong in the soul world is Ya Allah, Ya Mateen. Mateen is deep inner strength, it's inner power inside of you. So people who are Mateen, they have what we call, they're resolute. They have resolution, they're deeply resolute. What's resolute? It means that nothing can stop you. That you believe in yourself, that you're strong inside, that you set a goal, and when you set a goal, you arrive at that goal. The prophets were resolute. They had the desire to bring through the message of God, and they were going to deliver that message even if it meant them losing their lives. They were not going to stop if people threw stones at them, if people tried to kill them, if people tried to slander them. They were solid, they were strong, they were resolute. That's Mateen. Ya Allah, Ya Mateen. Mateen means resolution, inner power, inner strength. But Mateen is one of these names that crosses through here. So some of you have a lot of Mateen, you're very resolute. You can deal with your lives, and you get there. Nothing's going to stop you. You want to get your PhD? Boy, you're going to get your PhD. You want to go on and get a job at wherever, you're going to do that. There's this power in you that just drives you, and it's unstoppable, and you can do it. But there's other of you that you're Mateen, well, we don't know where that Mateen went to. So we know you have it, but we can't quite find it. And so for you, you want to get your PhD someday. After you get your bachelor's, which you will get when you're 47. But you've been busy because you wanted to do some music. So there's this lack of strengthening like that. So in Sufism, Mateen is needed, for example, in specific cases. And so you need the Mateen. You need to be strong. And it's a necessary quality. And to reach the Ahad, you need Mateen. You have to be resolute. If you want to reach, to cross through these barzakh, you have got to be resolute. It is not going to happen because you're a nice person. Well, a nice person helps. It does help. If you're a bad person, you won't get it. But if you're a nice person, it will help. But you're going to have to be resolute. You're going to have to do the things that cross you through that process. And what are the things that cross you through that process? Well, it's very simple.